What is good, everybody? It is your boy Champagne Chico, and today we're back with another mock draft. As I said, I'm planning to have mock drafts going up every day up until the day of the draft, maybe even the day 2 and day 3 of the draft if I decide to do 6 rounds or 7 rounds. But right now, we're going to be doing a 2-round mock draft, and there has been some rumors circulating around after my last video. The Cardinals are a team that seems very desperate to trade the number 3 overall pick. It seems like they're not comfortable taking anybody at that position in terms of the prospects that they have. Tyree Wilson was supposed to be this huge prospect that they wanted to take. Now, supposedly, Kyler Murray's telling the Cardinals to draft Paris Johnson Jr., which I don't blame him. A big tackle could help Kyler Murray a lot. I don't think he's going to have to see over him much since he is on the tackle side because Kyler Murray is very short. And then you have the Aaron Rodgers trade that went down yesterday, and really it was just a pick swap of first-round picks and a fifth-round pick and then a second-round pick next year, but it turns into a first if Aaron Rodgers plays 65% of his snaps. But before we get into the video, I'm going to have to ask you to go down there and like and subscribe for me. I just love football in general, and I love making these type of videos, whether it's the rebuilds, whether it's mock drafts. Right now, I'm planning to make a way too early mock draft too after the 2023 draft is over. But it's just always fun to see all the different scenarios that could possibly happen. But of course, we have to start the draft, and I think the consensus number 1 overall pick is going to be Bryce Young. I can't really see anybody else. I know CJ Stroud is the prototypical Frank Reich QB. I'm not too convinced on it because CJ Stroud, I'm just not convinced that he can be a superstar. Now, I hope he proves me wrong because he was very entertaining at Ohio State in the Georgia game and any of the games that he performed very well. But Bryce Young is the definition of consistency. He has a lot of tangible things that you can't teach any other quarterback. And as much as he doesn't have the size, he's 5'10". I mean, I think you can live with that. I think you can definitely live with that. Almost a Russell Wilson type player, and we saw how great Russell Wilson was for a while. Now on the Broncos, he's kind of iffy, but Bryce Young is going to be going to the Carolina Panthers. Hopefully they can give him some talent in these later rounds now that we have a 2-round mock draft. But now the Texans are on the board, and another team that could possibly trade down, but maybe they want to have their superstar right now. Maybe they want to have somebody like Will Anderson, who is seen as a future star in the league at the edge position, could really make a difference for the Texans defense, continue to add a lot of young talent for that Texans defense. They already have Jalen Petrie at the moment, who was a great safety last year. I mean, the Derek Stingley's also there. He was okay, but he can probably get better. But Will Anderson will solidify that defensive line of the Houston Texans going to Houston. And now the Cardinals are here. And a team that supposedly is very desperate to trade down. The only way that I see this happening, and they are still able to get somebody like Peter Skoronski or Paris Johnson, is if they possibly trade with a team like the Falcons. Now, it just depends on how much the Falcons want their QB right now. It's iffy for me. It's definitely iffy for me. I mean, I don't expect the Bears and the Eagles to go by and the Eagles don't get a lineman. They could also go defense. In terms of the Eagles, Howie Roseman always likes to draft for the future, especially for the defense. And Lucas Van Ness is a great option for that edge position. I mean, Hassan Reddick is only getting older. I mean, they put him on a prove-it deal last year, and he definitely proved it. Maybe they try to risk it, and they trade with the Titans, as I think I said in the last video that could be a possibility. Don't know why it doesn't come up as a possible thing here, but it's not going to matter much. Tennessee Titans, the 3rd overall pick, the 11th pick. Supposedly, the Cardinals are super desperate, so I'll just put 1 first-round pick next year Won't get into the specifics like I said before. And the Tennessee Titans move up to the 3rd overall pick to try to replace Ryan Tannehill right now. In the season that he turns 35, Ryan Tannehill is probably not somebody you're looking for the future for. But now the Titans are on the clock, and they could go with somebody like CJ Stroud right now, which seems like a lot more safe of an option rather than Will Levis and Anthony Richardson, although Anthony Richardson is a phenomenal athlete. That's just a big risk at the 3rd pick if you already are going to be trading probably a load right now. CJ Stroud seems like somebody that the Titans will probably take if they have the chance at the 3rd overall pick if they're able to trade up. Yeah, CJ Stroud going to Tennessee, hopefully helping out that team right there. And now the Colts are on the clock. It's between Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. I have basically convinced myself since I recorded this video last that the Colts could definitely go with Anthony Richardson over Will Levis if it came down to it. If it came down to it and CJ Stroud is not on the board, I mean, even if CJ Stroud was on the board, I feel like they're going to take Anthony Richardson to try to develop him. I mean, you have Michael Pittman on the team, Jonathan Taylor still on the team. I think the Colts might take a risk and see if they can get that Cam Newton type of player after having all these old quarterbacks. So Anthony Richardson can develop a lot in that Indianapolis offense. I think that should be a good position for him and the Colts. The Seahawks. This is really the only one that I'm for sure expecting Jalen Carter to be taken at. I can't imagine anybody else going to the Seahawks with the need that they have at the defensive line. Jalen Carter is just very good. I mean, he's a bit undersized for the defensive tackle position, but he's very powerful. He is very powerful. He knows how to use his hands. He was phenomenal at Georgia. I mean, there was a lot going around about him missing snaps from now and then. I wouldn't think too much about it. I think the Seahawks can use him very well. And Jalen Carter goes to the Seahawks. They're not going to draft a quarterback just yet. And now the Lions are here. And cornerback has been the rumored position of choice for Detroit. I still think Christian Gonzalez will go over Devin Witherspoon. I just don't think teams are very convinced. I don't think they're very convinced on Devin Witherspoon having one good season and then all of a sudden he's better than Christian Gonzalez, who has been a talent for a while now that has been looked at for the draft. Yeah, I think Christian Gonzalez still goes to Detroit. I can't imagine any other situation. Maybe Devin Witherspoon. I just don't know if that front office is going to be too convinced about it. But now the Raiders are here. Will Levis is still here. Maybe they're not even convinced on Will Levis. I just don't know if the Raiders can go anywhere else but quarterback here. Of course, corner is a position that they would probably want to go with, but do they keep trying to swing at cornerback? They keep wasting their top picks on cornerbacks that could possibly not even be that good, as they've struggled in the draft trying to get a cornerback. So maybe they don't even test it at this position. I can see Will Levis going to the Raiders. A strong arm, very strong arm, just needs to get a little more accurate. Devin Witherspoon is really neck and neck with Will Levis in terms of getting picked by the Raiders. Here we are with the Falcons. I'm not going to be trading the Texans pick like I did before because Anthony Richardson is no longer on the board and there's no QBs anymore. So now the Falcons are here. Could take Bijan, like I said, Arthur Smith, somebody that likes to have running backs. He likes to have a good running back in that backfield, a power running back, somebody that can really be a game changer, and that's what Bijan Robinson is. But maybe they try to help out their defense a little more because they have some offensive weapons. I think they can live with Tyler Algier for the season. Yeah, Tyree Wilson seems to be falling more and more, but I think the Falcons need an edge very badly. I'm going to go ahead and go with Tyree Wilson. Seems to be the closer we get to the draft, the less convinced teams are in him. I think the Falcons take a chance, though. Tyree Wilson going to Atlanta, and the Chicago Bears are here. And I think I'm sticking with Paris Johnson going to the Bears. Now, that's not going to make Kyler Murray happy. That's not going to make the Cardinals happy because they want a big tackle. They want to have a good offensive line that they currently do not have right now, or at least good enough for Kyler Murray because he's always scrambling out the pocket. Yeah, I feel like Paris Johnson is going to be taken by the Bears here still. Very good talent, very big talent, very just somebody that you can plug and play, and he's just going to develop very well over time. And now the Eagles are here. Devin Witherspoon is still on the board. I don't think they take Peter Skoronski because I think I convinced myself earlier that they're going to go with defense. Yeah, I'm pretty convinced that probably Lucas Van Ness can go up here. I know that I had him dropping to the Seahawks pick all the way down in the first round at the 20th overall pick. Could happen. I think if he falls past the Eagles, he's going to be falling probably to the Seahawks. I don't think that the Packers are going to go with defense in the first round anymore because of the fact that they have brand new starting QB. Aaron Rodgers is out the door. Yeah, Lucas Van Ness going to the Eagles. Keep adding to that Eagles defense as much as possible. Can develop under Hassan Reddick. Lucas Van Ness is a very, very powerful edge. Very good at 270. Now the Cardinals are here. Peter Skoronski, not even going to waste your time. Peter Skoronski going to the Arizona Cardinals. Tackle, could play tackle. They could move him into guard. I think they might play him at tackle for the time being until they find better tackles, and then they move him into guard since his arms are a little short, little undersized for the tackle position, and it will have him struggle in the NFL with all the talented edge rushers that there are. And now the Texans are here, and I think they're going to be preparing for the next draft in terms of trying to build for a future QB. And maybe they even take one in this draft if they're convinced on Hendon Hooker or somebody like that. But right here, I think they try to take a top wide receiver talent. They have Robert Woods, Nico Collins, not people that you're very trustworthy of. Jackson Smith and Jigba can be that man that can just be possibly a wide receiver one for the Texans if they give him the ball enough. They have Dalton Schultz now, so that was going to be their top receiving threat. But now Jackson Smith and Jigba could be going to the Houston Texans, and in this mock draft he will. But the Packers are now here, moving up from the 15th spot, and I still think they're going to go tight end. I don't imagine they're going to go cornerback. They're pretty set at cornerback at the moment. Defensive line is a position that they probably need, but Lucas Van Ness is no longer on the board for them. Wide receiver, tight end. I think they go offense. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm convinced on Quentin Johnston. I know that they got Christian Watson, and they developed him very well with this whole dropping the ball situation. And Quentin Johnston needs help with that too, but I don't know if the Packers are going to risk it at the 13th pick for Quentin Johnston. I'm not saying that they're not going to. They could possibly go with that, but tight end seems like something that you want. And I still think Michael Mayer is going to be going above Dalton Kincaid. As much as Dalton Kincaid is a great receiving threat, Michael Mayer is just somebody that is for sure going to be reliable. Could be top 10 tight end in the league, top 5, but that's only if they're able to use him properly. Michael Mayer is going to be going to the Green Bay Packers once again, and the Patriots are now on the clock with QB, tackle, and edge being positions of need. And since the Jets traded down, they might miss out on Broderick Jones. As much as he's not this pivotal tackle that everybody thought he was going to be going into college, he could develop into that in this Patriots offense. And I have him going to New England. Now Darnell Wright is not going to be going to New England in this mock draft, but the Jets need a tackle, especially now that they have a brand new QB in Aaron Rodgers, who probably isn't getting out the pocket enough with how old he is now. Can probably still get out there, but only in very, very dire situations. Yeah, I think Darnell Wright is still going to be going to one of these two teams right here. And he goes to New York, and the Washington Commanders are now on the clock. Devin Witherspoon is still on the board, but that's kind of just how the draft has fallen right now. There's not really much to do about it. With the rumors about the Cardinals going with a lineman instead of possibly going with defense, I think they try to please Kyler Murray right now, especially with the new head coach. I can't imagine that he's going to try to piss off his new starting QB. But I think this is where the bleeding stops for Devin Witherspoon, because the Redskins could use a cornerback, and I don't think they're going to take Deonte Banks or Joey Porter over Devin Witherspoon with how good of a talent he is. Just, again, needs to work on his penalties, but very good in every other aspect of his game in Illinois. Hopefully that 1 year was not just a one-off, and he will be a good cornerback in the league. And now the Steelers are on the clock. Regardless, they need a cornerback basically between Joey Porter and Deonte Banks. Deonte Banks is possibly better. I think they go with Deonte Banks if they have to choose between him and Joey Porter. Deonte Banks is just very... He's like a L'Jarius Sneed type of cornerback, and the Steelers just desperately need a pivotal cornerback in their defense, and that is what they're going to go with. The Lions at pick 18, and I think they try to get somebody that can be on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson. They have a great defensive line. They have great defensive ends, but if you can have two people on each side that can just basically scare the crap out of the QB, Nolan Smith can definitely do that. As much as they probably need defensive interior, I think Nolan Smith can really do well in that Lions defense. They go defense once again. I don't think they're going to go tight end this high in the draft. There's a lot of tight end prospects right now that they could possibly go with. Luke Musgrave later on, Darnell Washington, a bunch of different players. But I have Nolan Smith going to the Detroit Lions. Not a bad pick for them. Very high upside for Nolan Smith out of Georgia. And this might break the hearts of a lot of the lower teams in the draft, like the Giants and the Eagles, since they need safety. But Brian Branch going to the Bucs seems more and more likely just because they need a safety right now. Very smart player. Could be on the opposite side of Antoine Winfield and play very well as well. Yeah, I'm going to have Brian Branch going to Tampa Bay. That would be a great pick for them. If they got Brian Branch, that would help their defense tremendously, especially with Devin White might be moving on. I don't think they go with a linebacker or edge in any way. I think they take the big prospect in Brian Branch. And now the Seahawks are on the clock needing guard, center, or defensive line. Bijan is still here. And once again, I think they're still going to get an edge regardless if Lucas Van Ness is on the board or not. And Myles Murphy can be very good alongside Jalen Carter. 2 first-round defensive positions taken for the Seattle Seahawks. And the Chargers, still somebody I'm pretty convinced that Zay Flowers is going to be going to. I don't think that the Chargers are going to take a running back in the first round. As much as Bijan is a very, very talented running back, I think they continue to help out Justin Herbert as much as possible. They might give Isaiah Spiller the ball for the time being if they end up not re-signing Austin Eckler. But Zay Flowers going to the Chargers, a speed threat to complement Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Could really see that happening. Him going downfield like a T.Y. Hilton type of situation. And now the Ravens are looking to draft wide receiver, edge, or cornerback. And since Joey Porter is still here on the board, I think they go value for the positions that they need. They could find Kalijah Kancey enticing. They could go with Will McDonald as well. But if Joey Porter is still on the board for the Ravens, I think they end up taking him no matter the situation going on the offensive side of the ball. And the Vikings are here, and I'm basically completely convinced that Brian Bresee is going to be going to Minnesota. Just powerful defensive interior player. I can't imagine him going anywhere else but the Vikings. Yeah, Brian Bresee is just very explosive, and the Vikings could use some help on that defensive interior. As much as they have Jack Campbell here, they could go with that in the second round. Cornerback isn't really something you want to reach at right now with Emmanuel Forbes. Wide receiver, Quentin Johnston's still there. They did just lose Adam Thielen. Think I'm still going to go with Brian Bresee on the defensive side. Seem to need some help on that defensive line. And the Jaguars are looking... And I can see the Jaguars trying to solidify that offensive line even more. Osiris Torrance is very good out of Florida. They need guard. There's no edge or defensive backs that are very enticing for them at this position. Anton Harrison is strictly a tackle. I cannot see him at guard at all. So It might be a little of a reach for the Jaguars, but I think it's worth the couple of picks that they're going to be above. They might even trade down if they really want to with the Eagles. Now that I think about it, the Jaguars are having a situation with Evan Ingram in the contract talks that they're having, and I'm not sure those will go well. And Dalton Kincaid is still here, but they could see if anybody down here wants to trade up and they test their luck in terms of the Eagles possibly trying to jump over the Cowboys to get Bijan. I mean, if you get Bijan on the Eagles, that would be insane. I mean, might be the trade. This might be the trade. I won't try to dissect it too much. I could see it happening, though. I could see them trying to jump over their rivals in terms of the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys in possibly getting the Bijan sweepstakes. Yeah, and the Jaguars trying to test their luck in terms of getting either tight end, and if not, they're comfortable getting O'Cyrus Torrence and continue to try to re-sign Evan Ingram. But I'm going to have Philadelphia trading up to the 24th pick, jumping over their rivals and taking Bijan Robinson, an amazing talent that they could possibly still get at the 10th pick. But I think they go defense first and see how the draft falls with Bijan jumping over the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. And now they're stuck in a position of what they're going to do with themselves. I mean, they need wide receiver. Could go Quentin Johnson since he is still on the board. And I think that's just what I'm going to do right now. The Giants need a wide receiver, or they need receivers in general. Yeah, Quentin Johnson going to New York. Brian Branch is no longer on the board. Linebackers is a bit too far of a position to be drafting here. Center, still too far. They could wait till the second round to get those. And wide receiver could be the position that could really help him out this season with Daniel Jones on his newly extended contract. Now the Dallas Cowboys are here without Bijan on the board. Bijan going to the Eagles. That's a scary, scary offense. But Calijah Kancey's still here. And as much as that's probably... I don't know. I think the Cowboys like the potential of Calijah Kancey playing alongside Micah Parsons. I do too. I think that's going to be entertaining. But if he falls this far and Bijan isn't on the board, I can't see them going with anything else since it's going to be too much of a reach. They could trade down, but I don't think I'm going to be doing that right now since I just made the trade for Jacksonville and the Eagles. Yeah, I'm going to have Calijah Kancey going to Dallas. That's going to be my pick for the Dallas Cowboys. Very high upside out of Pittsburgh. Same as Aaron Donald as he has been compared to. And the Buffalo Bills, this is really a position that they just might reach. I don't think they're going to complicate things too much. Mozzie Smith is still somebody that I can see going there. There's cornerback Emmanuel Forbes. He's still here since Devin Witherspoon was able to drop all the way to the Commanders. Having Joey Porter be able to drop to the Ravens, and they didn't have to reach for Emmanuel Forbes. But Emmanuel Forbes is a great cornerback for the Buffalo Bills. Great size. Tremendous ball skills. Just needs to add a little muscle mass, and I think he can do that in Buffalo. Out of Mississippi State, he will be going to Buffalo, New York. And the Bengals are here with no Bijan on the board, no Calijah Kancey on the board. Defensive back is a possibility, but Dalton Kincaid has already fallen far enough. And they could use a really good tight end, whether it was Michael Mayer or Dalton Kincaid. I think they can utilize Kincaid very well. Out of Utah, he is a bit older, but Hayden Hurst already went to the Panthers, a receiving option for Bryce Young now. Now the Saints at the 29th pick, guard, center, defensive line, and cornerback. O'Cyrus Torrence is right here for the taking. As I've thought about it a little more, I think they're going to go Will McDonald. He has insane size. 35-inch arms. Very explosive. Cameron Jordan's only getting older. Yeah, Will McDonald going to New Orleans, and then that sets up the Jaguars to get the guard that they were planning to get already, but got some value out of that position, trading it to the Eagles with O'Cyrus Torrence going to Jacksonville, not too far from where he went to college. And the Chiefs are going to be going with the wide receiver in Jordan Addison. Very good route runner, but might only be a wide receiver 2 at best in the league. And Anton Harrison is still here for the Steelers to take. Offensive line is a desperate need for them as they try to build for the future with Kenny Pickett and Najee Harris in the backfield. And George Pickens at receiver. Yeah, Anton Harrison going to Pittsburgh. And the Texans at the 2nd overall pick in the 2nd round. And since they went Will Anderson at the 2nd overall pick, I don't think they're going to go with another edge. Felix is a great edge, but I just can't see them going back-to-back edges in both rounds. But I could see them going with Mazi Smith, as they do have some good veterans at the defensive tackle position. But Mazi's he's a big man. He is a big man with some grown man strength. He's a nose tackle that you probably want on your team. Yeah, I see Mazi Smith going to the Texans in the 2nd round if he falls this far over Felix. I think they go with offensive line either, since they just signed Laremy Tunsil again. They could go John Michael Schmitz. I might just go with the offensive line. John Michael Schmitz, great center. He did amazing this last year. And the Texans just might be trying to help their future quarterback next year, hopefully. And take John Michael Schmitz, making that offensive line very good. Goes to the top of the 2nd round. And the Cardinals, once again here, needing defensive line, cornerback, guard, or center. They already got their possible guard. And this is where I think Felix is going to be going. They need defensive line very desperately. J.J. Watt just retired this last year. He was okay in the last years of his career. It wasn't anything too insane. But I think they keep adding to the defense. And after drafting Anthony Richardson in the 1st round, the Indianapolis Colts just might take a tackle. They just might take a tackle. DeJuan Jones is a massive tackle. They need somebody to help out Quentin Nelson on that offensive line, because it seems like it's just him trying to guard for the QB. Yeah, DeJuan Jones goes to Indianapolis, going to protect Anthony Richardson and possibly help out Jonathan Taylor in the run game. Los Angeles Rams, running back, O-line, defensive line, linebacker, defensive back. I just might have Cam Smith going to Los Angeles. They just traded Jalen Ramsey to the Dolphins. They need to build their cornerbacks once again out of South Carolina. Like a wide receiver at the cornerback position. Just needs to improve his tackling a bit, but I think that Rams defense can help him out with developing into that. The Seattle Seahawks guard, center, defensive line. They've already drafted Miles Murphy and Jalen Carter. They thought O'Cyrus Torrence was still going to be here, but he's not anymore. Steve Avila is still here, though. That just might be what I go with. A great guard. He used to play center. The only issue with his game right now is blocking the run game. But they switched him from center to guard, and he's still kind of working that out in terms of getting the right angles. I think he can do well with Kenneth Walker in the backfield and Pete Carroll at head coach. The Raiders at the 38th pick, they chose Will Levis in the 1st round, so I do not think they'll be going offense in the 2nd round. Mazi Smith is still here for defensive interior. They could put somebody right next to Max Crosby that could be very, very deadly. And I'm going to have Mazi Smith going to Las Vegas. He's already fallen this far. Defensive back is also a possibility. Just seems like a little bit of a reach in the moment. Yeah, Mazi Smith going to the Las Vegas Raiders, helping that defensive line even more, even though they have Max Crosby already on that line. And the Panthers are now here looking for a receiving threat for Bryce Young, other than what they already have with Hayden Hurst there. I mean, they just traded DJ Moore for the 1st overall pick. But I think they go with somebody like Josh Downs. His footwork is insane. The only issue is his size since he is 5'9". I just think that they're going to be trying to put somebody alongside Bryce Young to develop with him. Josh Downs going to the Carolina Panthers, trying to put a young wide receiver next to him. Could be very good for them. The Saints, once again, on the clock. And in the second round, I'm not too concerned about teams reaching. The only time that they'll probably be concerned about reaching too much is the first round. I think the Saints need a cornerback. And Tyreek Stevenson is here, could fit very well for the Saints. They could keep trying to add to that defense. Tyreek Stevenson is not a bad pick at all out of UM. Go Hurricanes. Yeah, there's just not enough defensive line now. I mean, Thule is here. Oh, I almost forgot about Adebawor out of Northwestern. He's pretty good. B.J. Ojolari is also there. I think they're going to go B.J. Ojolari. He already has family that is in the league, so clearly he has a talent. He could learn even more from the talented Saints offense that there is. LSU not going very far from LSU. Right down the street to New Orleans. Saints to the Mercedes Dome, I think is what it is. The Titans, offensive line, wide receiver. This is a position that I can see Jahmyr Gibbs going if Derrick Henry is traded. As of today, Derrick Henry is not traded yet, so I'm not going to be picking Jahmyr Gibbs for them because that doesn't make much sense for them at the moment. Now, since they got CJ Stroud, wide receiver is not a very good choice at the moment. I think they can live with Traylon Burks for another season. Offensive tackles, Cody Mauch is pretty good out of North Dakota State. Conveniently very good at run blocking, even though they might not have Derrick Henry next season. But I think that's what they're going to go with here. Offensive line is not a bad pick overall, no matter what. Yeah, Cody Mauch going to the Tennessee Titans. Now the Packers are here looking for defensive line, safety, not a tight end. Wide receiver could be something. Quarterback is not something that they're looking for. They clearly want to see how Jordan Love does this season. And since they went offense in the first round with Michael Mayer, I think this is where Adebawor is going to go. They need defensive line. He's already come down to the 42nd pick. Really the best player on the board at the moment, other than Jahmyr Gibbs, of course. They don't need linebacker. Adebawor is going to be going to the Green Bay Packers out of Northwestern. Now the Jets, who already got a tackle in the first round with Darnell Wright, need a linebacker. And since they traded their second round pick, I completely forgot about that. I already kind of thought, as I was practicing these mock drafts on my own time, I already thought back-to-back picks for the Jets was pretty pointless. I thought they were probably going to trade down maybe to the Dolphins, since the Dolphins have been very vocal about them trying to move up in the second round or even to the bottom of the first. I think they go Jack Campbell. The definition of a Mike linebacker, yeah, he'll be a great middle linebacker for them. They need to have some younger players on that linebacker room, and I think he'll do just fine in New York. The Falcons, QB, wide receiver, edge, Hendon Hooker. I'm not sure. About Hendon Hooker. I know a lot of teams are very high on Jahmyr Gibbs. Almost higher on Jahmyr Gibbs than Bijan, since Jahmyr has a bit more of a dual threat type of running back. Hendon Hooker's tempting. I just don't know if they go with an older QB. I honestly think that they're going to try to lose as many games as possible next season. They already got Tyree Wilson in the first round. I actually think that the Falcons might go with defensive line. They signed Calais Campbell in the offseason. They traded for Jeff Okudah, who can be very good alongside A.J. Terrell. He doesn't have to be the cornerback one like he was in Detroit. Keanu Benton is somebody I can see. While Tyree Wilson learns from Calais Campbell. Grady Jarrett's also on the team. I think Keanu Benton is somebody that they can develop under both of them. I just can't see them trying to reach for any of these higher ranked prospects over here. Jahmyr Gibbs, they still have Cordell Patterson and Tyler Algier. Tyreek Stevenson, their cornerbacks are pretty set right now. They have Mike Hughes, Jeff Okudah, and A.J. Terrell. Not a bad cornerback room. Hendon Hooker just seems a little too early to be taking. And I don't know if you're trying to waste a second, not waste, but just spend a second round pick on Hendon Hooker, who's already kind of older in terms of the Falcons position. But I think Keanu Benton is going to go to the Atlanta Falcons. Very versatile defensive tackle. Has had his fair share in the A and B gaps. I just can't see him not going to the Falcons if given the opportunity for the Falcons here. Very good with his hands. Keanu Benton to Atlanta. Packers now here with Michael Mayer and a brand new edge on their team. With the trade to the Jets, puts them in a good position in a way. They could go wide receiver. I don't think they go halfback. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to continue to fall right now because they have A.J. Dillon. They have Aaron Jones for the time being. I think they try to complement Christian Watson. As much as Christian Watson is a deep threat, he also can catch it in traffic. The only issue is when Jalen Hyatt is facing press coverage. Kind of needs to be able to defeat it. And I think the Packers can do that in terms of helping him out in figuring that out. But Jalen Hyatt going to the Packers, still continuing to help out Jordan Love as much as possible. With the Packers looking at how the draft has gone, tackle, they've already drafted with Broderick Jones in the first round. If I can find it. Yep. Well, Broderick Jones in the first round. Edge, QB. I really don't think that they take Hendon Hooker and try to put two possibly mediocre quarterbacks going against each other. I think with Bill Belichick's style of drafting, I feel like he's going to go defense. And with it being defense, he likes his cornerbacks. Tyreek Stevenson is not a bad cornerback at all. I don't think he goes Tully. I don't think it fits the scheme very well. They already got tackle. I think they go Tyreek Stevenson here. Can be a very good outside corner for them. Yeah, I'm going to have him going to New England, even though he went to UM. And Tyreek Stevenson goes to New England, and the Washington Commanders are now looking. Hendon Hooker continues to be a possibility. I'm really not convinced for them. They're a young team. I just don't know if they're spending a second-round pick on that. I think they'll go defense again with Drew Sanders. They need a linebacker. Drew Sanders is a blitz-heavy linebacker that could help them in their scheme that they run. Yeah, I'm going to have Drew Sanders going to Washington. Not Hendon Hooker just yet. Detroit Lions, wide receiver, tight end. Tight end, I don't think they've taken just yet. No. But I don't think they take Darnell Washington. They're not very known for taking blocking tight ends, and Darnell Washington excels in that. Very strong tight end. But he has all the traits to be a great tight end, but I think they go with the more of a vertical threat with Luke Musgrave, even though he needs to work on his route running. I think they can help him out with that. They've had players like TJ Hawkinson on the team. Eric Ebron before he went to the Steelers and actually got pretty good. I think Luke Musgrave can be great for them. They already traded TJ Hawkinson last season to the Vikings for some picks. And the Steelers, defensive back, linebacker, they already drafted a cornerback in the first round. I don't think they go back-to-back rounds doing that. Deonte Banks will be great for them. And Dayan Henley is on the board. Another very twitchy linebacker. He'll probably be a wide linebacker. I don't think he's just going to be head-on. But could be very good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Out of Washington State, and now the Bucs. This is where I could see Hendon Hooker going. I'm not convinced that Baker Mayfield is going to be the starter for the Bucs. I really am not. As much as he had that great game with the Rams, that he made that comeback down the field, think it was like a 99-yard or 97-yard drive. I'm just not convinced on it. I'm not convinced on it at all. Think they take a chance on Hendon Hooker. I don't assume they're going to be thinking of next draft and thinking they're going to be at the top of it. If they are, then great. They have Hendon Hooker as a solid backup. He can always be a solid backup. He continues to rise up the ranks. Again, I saw him going in the first round in a couple mock drafts to the Ravens. A bit of a stretch, but I think Hendon Hooker goes to the Bucs. Think they wait on a tight end. It's a decent tight end class. I think they wait on it. And I have Hendon Hooker going to Tampa Bay. Might be a surprise for Tampa Bay fans, but not a surprise for me. As they did go with the safety in the first round, I think they try to go with the QB or offense in the second. They could go Sam Laporta, but not convinced on that. The Dolphins are now here, and Darnell Washington is here for the taking. Darnell Washington, I think, can be amazing. I think he can be phenomenal. And the fact that he will probably be falling to the bottom of the second round is a bit crazy to me after the combine that he had. Insane frame and insane size, and he moves quick. Now, he's not the greatest route runner in the world, like Luke Musgrave wasn't the greatest route runner either, but he can definitely create a mismatch. And I think the Dolphins look to continue to kind of mirror the 49ers play style in terms of the double running back and having a blocking tight end. He can definitely be that and still be a mismatch. They already let Mike Gesicki go, which I do not blame him for doing, but Darnell Washington will be going to the Miami Dolphins today. And here are the Seattle Seahawks, possibly looking for offensive line since they've already drafted 2 defensive line prospects with Myles Murphy and Jalen Carter. And as much as Luke Weipler is probably ranked higher than Joe Tippmann, I have Joe Tippmann going to the Seahawks. He could be a center and a guard if they really want to move him. But his athleticism, the size that he's at, is insane. The way that he gets to the second level is something that you want on your team. You need to keep adding to this O-line. And I think they do just that since they got Steve Avila at the beginning of the second round. You get a center. You solidify that offensive line. You've already solidified the defensive line. They are making all the right choices right now, and the Bears are here. Cornerback, defensive line, tackle, and center. And I don't think they try to risk Luke Weipler falling to the Giants and them possibly taking them. Even the Jaguars took a guard in the first round and could be looking to complete the offensive line that they have. The Bears need a center. They already got Paris Johnson in the first round. And getting Luke Weipler can really help Justin Fields out a lot. As much as DJ Turner is here for the taking, I can't imagine they don't try to completely help Justin Fields out, or at least their future QB, because for some reason people still think that Justin Fields isn't the future of the Bears, even after trading their first pick. But we'll be taking Luke Weipler at the 53rd pick in the draft. Very, very good center out of Ohio State. Very strong hands, but needs to work on his anchor. And now the Chargers. They already got a wide receiver in the first round. Cannot imagine them going with that again. Cornerback is a possible situation with DJ Turner here. He's a man corner who's very athletic. Yeah, wide receiver and linebacker is not something that they're probably going to take here. DJ Turner going to Los Angeles. Did I say San Diego before? I hope not. Detroit Lions. Wide receiver, tight end, defensive interior. They've already gotten Luke Musgrave. They've also gotten Nolan Smith and Christian Gonzalez. So they got their defensive players pretty good. Tight end's already been taken for them. Could get wide receiver with the whole Jameson Williams getting suspended situation. Yeah, I mean, he could be the replacement for Jameson Williams, as much as that sounds crazy because Jameson Williams was literally a rookie last season. But Nathaniel Dell is fast and very, very sudden with his movements. Nathaniel Dell going to the Detroit Lions. The Jaguars now see Tuli just sitting there for them. Safety is also a position that they might need, but I think they need to build up. I think they need to build up that defensive line. Tuli's very good at defeating blocks. I think he'll be very good for the Jaguars. But Antonio Johnson is also very enticing. I'm going to go with Tuli to the Jaguars, adding to that defensive line. Once again, they could go tight end if they think Sam Laporta is going to be good and they aren't convinced that Evan Ingram is going to be re-signing with them. But I don't think they're prioritizing that. Tuli out of USC going to the Jaguars. The Jaguars and the Eagles could possibly trade again just because Antonio Johnson was sitting there. And now the Giants have a chance to take a safety at this position since they had to get a wide receiver in the first round. Center, I don't think they're going to be going after because there's not a good one for at least another round or two. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Antonio Johnson going to the Giants. They need a safety. Antonio Johnson has a very big tackle radius because of how long his arms are. He was projected to go in the first round at one point, but significantly fell down the draft. Almost like a Jamal Adams type of safety in terms of run support. I think he'll be great for the Giants. He'll go ahead and go there. And the Cowboys have seen how far Jahmyr Gibbs has fallen. Not a lot of other teams really needed a halfback or would utilize Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't know if they want to do the double running back thing again in terms of having two very good running backs. Tony Pollard is a great receiving threat. I just really can't see them going with two running backs that basically play the same. I know that it helps Tony Pollard out in terms of not being gassed, but whenever he had his own games that he didn't have a backup, he played tremendously. Yeah, I don't think they're going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. He's just going to keep falling for right now. I think he's just going to keep falling. I think they're going to go with Kelee Ringo, who was a top prospect at one point in the draft, going in the first round, maybe even top 10 at one point, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 15. Almost like a Trayvon Diggs type of cornerback, because he's good at catching the ball. There's no linebackers that could really catch their eye right now. They already got Kalijah Kancey. I don't understand why running back would be a need for them. I mean, there could be a situation that they take Jahmyr Gibbs here or even Bijan in the first round. I don't know. Tony Pollard is on a franchise tag. I'm going to go with Kelee Ringo for right now. It definitely was a difficult choice between Kelee and Jahmyr Gibbs, but they need cornerbacks. I think they can try to re-sign Tony Pollard. I know they had the situation that Ezekiel Elliott basically wasted their money for the last 2 years, and they had to release him this year. I just don't think Tony Pollard is that type of running back that you're going to be wasting your money on. I think they should re-sign Tony Pollard to a longer contract, maybe not as long as they did with Ezekiel Elliott. I just can't see them not having Tony Pollard as an RB1 with no questions asked. And with the Bills taking Emmanuel Forbes in the first round, they could possibly take a risk on somebody like Trenton Simpson in terms of it being too early to be picking him. But he's a phenomenal athlete. He's great with his movement skills, but he has to work on his zone coverage. He's great at man, but his zone coverage needs some work. I think the Bills can work on that with him, with Matt Milano also being there. Trenton Simpson, and they lost Tremont Edmonds in free agency, so they're trying to find a replacement for him. Another great athlete, Trenton Simpson, out of Clemson, going to Buffalo. And here are the Bengals. And this is where I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to go. Since they missed out on Bijan in the first round, if Bijan would have fell to the Bengals, I would have taken him with the Bengals. But It's a tough route for the Bengals. I don't think they're necessarily going to try to trade up to get Bijan. If he's on the board when they're there, then great. But if not, they wait on the second round and possibly Jahmyr Gibbs falling to the 60th pick, which would be absurd with how highly regarded he is by all the teams right now. But Joe Mixon is having some legal trouble. He's also getting older. I think they try to look for the future once again. They have a very young team with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Tyler Boyd's getting a bit old, but they need to re-sign T. Higgins. They need to pay Jamar Chase. And if they pay Joe Mixon, that's going to take money from their star receivers and their star quarterback. And Jahmyr Gibbs is a great running back option for at least the next 3 or 4 years with the second round contract that he's probably going to be getting. A receiving threat, I think he's basically like an Alvin Kamara type of running back. He can be phenomenal. He can definitely be phenomenal. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he'll be going to Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, to be specific. That would be great for them. That would be phenomenal for them. Tackle, center, defensive line, cornerback. We already got a tackle and a center for the Bears. Defensive line might be the way that they go here. Or cornerback. With Julius Brent's massive wingspan, he continues to climb up the ranks in terms of the draft. Cornerback is a need. I don't think they really are going to be focusing on defensive line too much. I mean, Keon White is also a great option for them. I think they'll go with Julius Brents. He has some good size. Clark Phillips is he's a bit undersized. 5'9". Julian Brents is 6'3" at the cornerback position. Could be a steal here. It could be a steal here, and I think that the Bears are going to go with cornerback and Julius Brents. Not a lot of people are probably going to know his name when the draft comes around, but he just might prove everybody wrong. The Eagles, wide receiver, guard, center, defensive interior, safety. They don't have a safety. C.J. Gardner-Johnson did leave them in free agency to the Detroit Lions. They've already drafted just Bijan. They've only drafted Bijan right now. I don't really understand why they would need a wide receiver. They still have Quez Watkins. They still have Devontae Smith. They still have A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown seems like the type of wide receiver that just wants to stay with Jalen Hurts no matter the money that he's going to be getting. Devontae Smith is probably going to be getting paid pretty soon if he hasn't already. And Quez Watkins is a solid wide receiver 3. I had him in my Seahawks franchise, and he was pretty good. But all jokes aside, defensive interior safety, defensive line or offensive line is probably what I would think they would go with. Jordan Battle could be who they take. He was a pretty good prospect for a while, but he fell down the ranks, I guess, when Brian Branch started to pop off as a safety in Alabama. Too high safety, I think that can fit the Eagles pretty well. Needs to work on his man coverage, but he is a very reliable safety. I think they reach on it. And take Jordan Battle here. Well-known safety from Alabama. Yeah, we're going to take Jordan Battle for the Eagles. And for the last pick of the mock draft, the Chiefs need defensive line. They already got Jordan Addison in the first round. Insane that Sam Laporta has fallen so far now. And with the last pick of the mock draft, I have Isaiah Foskey going to the Chiefs. Great size and speed combination, being at 6'5", 254. I like Foskey more than Herbig and White. And that's who I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Isaiah Foskey. I think the Chiefs defense can help him out in terms of developing him. He's already dropped a lot as a prospect. This is the first round. I'm pretty confident with how this draft went in terms of how relatable it's probably going to be to the actual draft, because there's a lot of mixing in terms of players dropping, players jumping up. Deonte Banks going to the Steelers would be great for them. Nolan Smith to the Lions. Brian Branch to the Bucks would be very ideal for them. I mean, they're at the 19th pick. There's probably not going to be a lot of QBs that fall to that. Will Levis could fall if the Raiders end up deciding to go with the cornerback. Tyree Wilson to the Falcons seems like a for sure, unless they decide to go with quarterback if it falls, or they trade up to the Cardinals pick if the Titans aren't able to. I like the Cardinals getting Peter Skoronski, adding to their O-line. Rodney Hudson seems like the only person that's actually good on the team. I don't even think they have Rodney Hudson anymore. No, yeah, Rodney Hudson is not on the team anymore, so they need to revamp that entire O-line. Broderick Jones to the Patriots. Just a lot of great picks for a lot of different teams in this draft. I like the second round as well. A lot of jumping up and down in the second round, but I think all the teams get what they need. But if you did enjoy that, please like and subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comments below in terms of how I went about picking different players and the team needs and all that good stuff. But again, if you did enjoy, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.